G'day everyone, welcome to this week's Life on the Hulls. As you can see, I'm up on the deck, I'm doing some work up here. It's such an exciting time for me to be able to work up here and get stuff done that's ultimately finishing for the boat itself. Now this week I'm going to spend a lot of time down in the forward cabins, and essentially I'm going to prepare the robes for completion. Ultimately I need to get them all glassed in and conduits put in, very importantly, to carry my electrics through. So there's a lot of boat building in my episodes. I know it's it's pretty dry stuff, but hopefully it's good enough to keep you captivated, and eventually you get to see this guy all fitting in place and ultimately a nice boat. So don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'm going to get into it straight away. I'm trying to get a lot of these little jobs done, and my next bloody big little job, there's no such thing as a little job here, it tends to be everything I tackle is just ridiculous, and it usually involves me being crammed into a small place. But up in the main suite, got to cut out all of the wardrobe doors. I'm going to do them all now so that I can get all the inside prep, so that I can get Janet in here or myself in here, and we can get these shelving units and all the internals of the wardrobes all painted out or flow coated out. I'm more likely to flow coat. I think it's a it's a quicker result. It's not quite as good a texture, but it does give me really good quick result, and waterproof as well. So very important. Not quite as critical inside a cupboard to have a perfectly smooth fed finish. So for now I'm just going to measure all of these up. I've got one here, I've got another one here and here, another large one, and then another smaller one down in here. So I'm going to get those measured up and make sure that I've got the cutout pretty accurate, because I'm going to use that as the template for the door. It certainly won't be the exact template for the door, but ultimately it'll be a way that I can quickly get that piece out of the factory of all these little bits that I'm cutting out, and work out the size of the door that I'm going to use. Possibly 10mm foam core with a laminate on the front of it, possibly wood veneer, or maybe even just a beach type laminate. We're not really sure how we're going to do that. We haven't got to the choosing the drapes and picking the colours and the cushions yet, but we'll get there. Well, that was a session. Holy shit, the noise, that little oscillating tool is just and I feel sorry for anyone living within a couple of k's of me here. It's about 8 o'clock at night. It's pretty cold. It's I think it's about 6 or 7 degrees outside, so good night for doing it. Everyone's locked down. No one's out at the breweries that are about 100 metres away, so luckily there's no one sitting down there trying to enjoy a beer with going on in the background. But yeah, I've got this cut out. I've got all these wardrobes cut out. Got this one down here cut out as well, and the one behind me here. So very successful little session. That was a ripper of a session. I love it when I can sort of get into it and not have to worry about whether I'm affecting the guys across the road, because the mechanics over there, they've got old ladies and customers coming in all day, old men coming in, and yeah, Kaz finds it a little bit hard to hear. So I try to avoid all my cutting until late in the afternoon. I do make bugger all noise through the day. I'm generally near glassing or something, which doesn't take a lot of noise, and a bit of sanding occasionally. But the worst part is this buzzer and the vacuum cleaner. That vacuum, I've got that Ryobi, is just as loud as hell. But yeah, I got quite a lot done today. I'm pretty proud with my effort today. It's been a good day. I got the portside cabin shelves in, the module cut out, it's ready to go. These ones are already done, so all these shelves are done. They're just got to be sanded out, except for that bottom one. It's still loose because I've still got to put the pump in and out. And I'm thinking I might actually have that as a removable shelf so I can really service the water pump, because the water tank's directly below here. Next couple of weeks, I'm going to start to thinking about pulling out the hatches in the floor, start designing how I'm going to get them. I want access to absolutely everything under the floor here. So I'm at the point now I'm really starting to get a lot of things done, and a lot of that means late night, late afternoon grinding and cutting. In this oscillating tool to cut up all these excess flanges on these modules, which is allowing me to work out how I'm going to integrate it into the bridge deck. This here has to be fed and integrated into the actual bridge deck there. So this is the main section of the main suite. So cutting these flanges off allows me to see where it fits to the actual chamfer panel, and very important that I do that with all these modules and get all of these flanges off, and then work out how to actually, how I'm going to glue them with either composite angle or fairing and shaping back into the actual bridge deck itself. So you can see along here, this actually has to integrate down onto the bridge deck, and it's simply going to be a matter of me sanding that back and then tabbing it across. And this is where all the work that I've done is going to start to really show milestones very quickly, because this all will be integrated very quickly into this and semi-complete. You know, once that bulkhead's in place, basically all this room needs to be done then is fed and painted out in the manner in which I choose. Now, yesterday I put in a bulkhead in here, in this cabin wardrobe up in here. Now it is about 1 centimetre too high, so I've need to trim that along there, and that'll allow this to all sit down, and then I can come along and trim along the bottom flanges here and get these modules finished. There is a little bit of reinforcing needed behind it here, but really not a lot, because it's all going to be tabbed and glassed. In here will all be tabbed and glassed together, so the whole thing will be integrated in one sort of day session, and pretty much done. And essentially then all I have to do is make the timber step treads, and this whole unit is done, similar to the other side over there. It's amazing, just trimming the edges off these modules gives me a really good sense of hope. So they're going to integrate into the bridge deck there, and then across here I have a composite angle under here, so I'm going to actually glue it to the composite angle, and then I'm going to fair it and tape it and actually fair it back in with gel coat and make it all look nice and flash. And then this wall will have a lining under some description, perhaps gel coat, perhaps some sort of a timber finish. I'm not really sure how I'm going to finish all that yet, but I'll get it all integrated and then I can make some final decisions. But yeah, looking around, everything's fitting really well. I have got a bit of a high spot over here, and I'm not convinced it's not the composite angle that I've got along the back of the chamfer panel there, but I'll work that out tomorrow. I also need to clean along these bottom flanges here, but I've had enough for today. I've got to head in and have another dental appointment tomorrow morning, so that'll waste half of the day. But yeah, time for a beer. So I've been wondering what I'm going to do for my doors, and I've come across a deal with Mark at Innovation Composites. You want to follow him on Instagram. They've got some bloody amazing stuff going on in here. Yacht rebuilds, racing yachts, all composite parts, and pretty incredible carbon stuff. But I got a load of 20 sheets of honeycomb plywood door blanks and 6 sheets of Nomex basically just waiting for the fork to come out here. I borrowed Johnny's trailer, and I'm going to get it all in there and back to the factory and get it stored until I get to my door. So lucky score. Fantastic. Good on you, Neil. Leave it with me.
Yeah, man, no worries.
Good on you, buddy. Thanks, I appreciate it, mate. Oh, that's awesome. This sheets of Nomex. Beautiful. 20 sheets of plywood. Perfect, this stuff. So I'm just going to stove in the ends, fill them with solid timber, and turn them into doors, and all my cabinetry will be done with this load. Shit, what a score. As you can see, it's close quarters in here. Even when I get the lid in here, I'm only going to have around 6 or 8 inches of head height in here. So unfortunately, that doesn't give me a lot of room to do things like reinforcing modules and the like. And putting up the deck mold has actually catalysed me into getting a lot of things done that I've left in the wings, I guess you could say. So this large module here, as you can see, is already above the bridge deck there. So the deck height's around about here, and then this thing up here, there's no way I can turn this thing over and actually reinforce the underside of it easily with the deck actually in place. So I'm just going to do them all now, get them done, so that when I bring it in here, I don't have to complete any of this. Now this stuff was all fabricated years ago, a couple of years ago, but the nice thing about it now is I've got time to just spend a day on each module, get them all down, and then I can lock everything down at once and then bring the deck in and not have to think, oh, I didn't reinforce that part. Very important that I reinforce these parts as required, especially on beds where we're going to be kneeling and getting in and out of the bed and basically putting pressure down on the underside of this module here, the stairways, all those areas there. Righto, so I've reinforced the steps. That's had another 2 layers of 600 double bias on them, and I've now peel plied them so they're nice and smooth underneath. And what I'll do is I'll go in for lunch. I'm just waiting for this sea light to set. I've actually had it clamped and it has set up, but I'm going to then sand and chamfer the edges, or bevel the edges, and then I'll lay 2 layers of 600 double bias over the top of this foam, and that'll see that module pretty much complete. I can then almost think about starting to get it installed. I've just got to run a conduit through underneath it, very importantly, because once I put it in, I'm not going to have a lot of access. So I'll get that completed after lunch and start thinking about installing it. Last thing I do before I put in these modules is to put in the pipework, all the conduits I need to run electrics. Now I've got to consider that up in the bow here I've got a windlass, I have navigation lights, and anything else I want to put up the front I need to make sure I've got some way of getting some electrics up there, particularly for the ground services. For the lights up in the ceiling, they'll be run through the lining in the ceiling, and I've got certain ways I'm going to do that once I get the deck in here. However, for now, down here in the port side forward cabin, in this robe here, I've actually been able to run a conduit just within millimeters up through here, continuing all the way through the bottom of this cupboard and linking up with the conduit in the rear underneath that double stair module. So there's a lot of planning gone into this, and I've been thinking it through how I'm going to make this happen without too much grief. And then I have to put a join right in here somewhere, because I intend to run lights in the bottom of the stairs, or at least in the bottom of one of the stairs, so that when you come in here in the dark, you'll be able to find your way into the bed. So multiple fitments. I think I've had this out 20 or 30 times. You want to make sure that the stairs actually allow room for that conduit. I don't want to have a bulge, so I've got to cut that pipe and put that joint in exactly where I need it. See here, it just fits absolutely perfectly. There's an element there that's going to allow me to glue that in there, so that's a perfect fit. And then we've got this under here. I need to make sure there's room for a tube under here, which I think there is. So all of that just to work out where to cut a pipe, honestly. So I can cut this guy smack bang in the middle here, and what I'll do is I'll be able to trim it short in the wardrobe end. So I'm just about to install this in the next couple of days. Pretty much everything's been put in, including conduits, shelving. Everything's pretty much sanded and ready for final flow coating or painting of the actual internal shelving that are accessible. I've actually got a couple of cups of the grey flow coat that I'm going to use to just finish this area here, anywhere that's not visible inside the shelves, and just to protect that surface from condensation and the like. So I'm going to actually roll it in to this area here and along the bottom underneath the shelves. I'm not sure what colour we're going to go to the shelving yet inside these wardrobes. It's more likely to be white than grey, but what I'll do is anywhere that can't be seen will be the mist grey, just like it is in the bilges. And ultimately I just need to leave a small area around about 1 centimetre or 1 inch or so around the margins, just for that Techniglue to glue the module in. But better off to get the flow coating done now and then let it sit, and then I'm pretty much ready to put this in. I'll get it in probably in 2 or 3 days. I'll get that one in. I've got some Techniglue arriving, and yeah, we'll get it in. It is a bit hard to get things at the moment. All the postal services are really ground to a halt, so we're struggling to get goods that we need, and I've got a few things in the back burner at the moment because I'm waiting on materials. Right, I'm trying to work out this conduiting from the main bulkhead. So the inverters and all my battery bank is behind this wall over on the midsection of the boat here. In fact, the inverter and everything will be on the port side, but I've got a lot of cables going to run through here. I'm wondering how I'm going to do this, whether I use a flexible cable or whether I put in a 45-degree mount like so, and then just have a straight pipe come out. So that idea is one of the ideas I have to allow me to be actually access the cable and then feed it through. So pull it through and then feed it down, or a junction box here where I can pull everything through and then feed it down through here. Now this line here is a draw and that'll end there, so all this area will be free for wiring, etc. And I've also got to get water up in through here, or possibly in behind the stairs here. So I've got quite a lot of routing to be doing here. And I'd say routing, but you're not allowed to say that in Australia because that means something else. But yeah, so I can go down through here, and join up with this conduit here.